Everyone, am I audible online वालों? Am I audible? Are students still writing, or we have seeing the real competition? हाँ? लास्ट में त्रिवेदी बचेगा वाली बात होगी, देखना. Where is Ketan? Ketan is not here. Shreya is not come back. रूठ गई हैं शायद हमसे. Shreya, are you all right? No, she is not here. So, how many questions today? 8. All 8. More than 6? Okay, 7 questions. 7. All 8. Oh, Trivedi ji here. All 8 questions. Nice. 5. Now, today's paper was easier. You see? I mean, I think today we will have discussion for, I think, less than 1 hour perhaps. Because there is nothing much to discuss actually. We have already discussed so many things. Okay. Okay. So, what is the difficulty that you are facing now? No difficulty. Everything is fine now. Writing speed. Okay. Online walo, what is the difficulty that you are facing now? Who messaged me? I think last night around 10. One of you messaged me around 10. He was asking about your doubt. Okay. Speed will come with time. I mean, it is a function of revision, instinct. Writing speed is a function of revision and practice. Email ID is Piyush Kumar UPSC. My name includes PEE, not PI. PEEYUSH Kumar UPSC. Piyush Kumar UPSC. @gmail.com. That is given. @gmail.com. So that is my email ID. Okay. Shall we start? I think there was one confusion. Some students were asking me that when we started discussing the quotation-based question, I showed you one slide in which I was discussing. Here I had written a lot of thinkers. That is how we should include thinkers and everything. See, I told you that is how you should approach, but not in a way that you are writing thinker after thinker after thinker only. Okay, because see, if I am discussing something that is how you should approach, so I will talk about that only. Okay, that may not be the exact answer of the answer that you should write. So just imagine, I mean, in the UPSC interview, examiner is asking you that how you will remove poverty, and you are saying, as per Amartya Sen, I will do this, as per Gandhiji, I will do this, as per Nehruji, I will do this, as per Rahul Gandhi, I will do this. Imagine answering that. So that answer will not have a lot of quality. Perhaps what you can do, you can answer something and then you can say, this is also what Gandhiji has also said. This is also what Amartya Sen has also said. And you can sprinkle that, testimony from different perspective. But you cannot base your entire answer on that. And also you can just not talk about them continuously, this, because that looks very mechanical. So that is something that you should understand when you are writing the philosophy in the quotation-based question or any question. Understand? Any other thing? Nothing? Okay, so let us start with the question. I count him braver who overcomes his desire than who overcomes his enemy. I think this topic we have already discussed so many times. I mean, just look at the thinkers. I mean, let us not, if you will be stuck around that only. So just look at the thinkers. How many times we have discussed about desires? How many times? And how many thinkers have spoken about them? You talk about virtue approach. Those unexamined life is not worth living and everything. You talk about, let's say, utilitarian perspective, that how, a human being should be a competent judge with respect to the qualitative aspect of pleasure and quantitative aspect of pleasure, and basically which is more superior pleasure and not. Understood? That nothing but controlling desires only. Okay, then pleasure without conscience, Gandhiji, that is the same thing, desires and everything. Understood? Golden mean, the Buddhism, desire is the root cause of sorrow. So basically, we already have so many philosophical perspectives. We have discussed that, I mean, so many times, because traditionally speaking, corruption and everything, so governance is in a way, I know, more recent phenomenon. But usually the individual is corrupt from desire's perspective only. You know, corruption is only one part of it. So desire is a much broader category. Basically, your appetite and desires, you know, passions, bodily passions, they will drive you crazy when you are making decisions. So that is what that is why this topic is understood. So we already have so many perspectives. So at least you should quote at least 2 or 3 of them when you are writing the answer. How many of you quoted that? At least male and someone. And I think very nice. Yesterday we were discussing about form and substance. One question was on mindless adherence to the form, and I don't remember, but one girl, I think, very beautifully mentioned about 2 types of duties. One is apparent duty and another is real duty. You know, that we discussed in the context of Western thinker. कौन थे भाई? किसने लिखा था? Yes, actual duty versus prima facie duty. So that's really great application of the thinker. You know, that actually is the form and substance alignment only, that prima facie duty may be this, but actual duty is something else. Really great application of mind and thinker, you know, in the context of here in the same rules and regulations, same thing again you can write, same thing. Understood? So now let us talk about desires. So that is what. So how many of you quoted at least few of those thinkers? Very nice. Shabash. Okay. So now, you know, the quote emphasized on the superior courage that is required. The entire spirit of the quotation is that you require superior courage to conquer your inner demons, you know, your inner desires, than what you require towards, you know, fighting other people or enemy. So your primary answer should be towards that how fighting inner desires, you know, is why does it require more courage, or perhaps why it is a more stringent test of character than perhaps fighting enemy. And don't you understand, somehow it is more, more or less similar to what we have discussed in the context of power also, that anyone can withstand adversity, anyone can withstand perhaps outside enemy, but if you want to truly test a man, give him power so that you can actually test one's own character. Understood? Similar way, desires, you know, when you are fighting your internal desires, internal enemy, then what are those factors that make it bit more difficult? Don't read it there, listen. Okay, then what are those factors that make it more difficult? Think, what are those factors? I mean, all of you are here, you know, many of you are not here. So what is the factor the difference that is there? It requires a lot of courage, lot of consistency, lot of discipline to write test on a daily basis, to fight your internal desire to perhaps sleep at this point of time, or perhaps go out with your friends and enjoy. So many things are there, okay? But it requires a lot of courage. So what are the differentiating factors that are there when we are countering someone else versus when we are countering our own inner demons? So you now give me some arguments for that. बताइए, how it is different? I mean, see, the very basic thing is, suppose, you know, I become a villain in your eyes collectively, you know, then it will become far easier for you to defeat me, because all of you will come together and fight me. You know, there is a lot of solidarity with respect to that. But if suppose you have to fight your own discipline, mostly it will be a lonely struggle. So that is what it makes it a, you know, lot of difference, that when you are fighting within yourself, mostly the journey is very lonely, and it is a persistent effort. Perhaps you can finish me with respect to the, you know, demon perspective, that no, this is no longer our enemy because he's not that much powerful now, but your internal desires, they can again come back. Okay, so that is why you require consistent, the virtue approach. You require consistent practice to become to have a virtuous character, and that consistent struggle actually require that you should have far more courage. Understood? Than what you require to fight the external enemy. So that is the perspective of this question, that you require continuous struggle against your temptations rather than something. Perseverance is also required, and also it requires a lot of humility to accept that you are wrong in the first place, that you are driven by your desires. It requires a lot of humility. I mean, in your essay topic was there, courage to accept and dedication to improvement are two keys to success. So why it requires courage and humility to accept? Because that is the first step towards improvement, that you should at least first accept that you are committing some mistake. Understood? So that humility and courage is required. Understood? So that is what we talk about Ramana. Despite being so knowledgeable, he was not looking within himself, and that is why doomsday was there for him. Then it requires a lot of integrity, because when you're fighting someone else, you may get a lot of support and everything, but when you're fighting yourself, you need to rely on your own conscience, lot of courage of conviction, lot of inner strength to fight your inner demons. And the enemy may not be visible also. When you have a visible enemy, it is much more easier to fight that. But when you don't even know that what is it that is holding you back, it becomes very difficult to fight that. Understood? And that is the aspect about inner desires. It requires immense introspection and all those things. And the struggle is mostly alone, that you already discussed. And all these thinkers' perspective, you can talk about golden mean, pleasure without conscience, the role of qualitative pleasure, and all these things require, that you should have lot of prudent judgment with respect to whom you are fighting and what you are fighting, and most importantly, how this quotation is relevant in today's time, to whom you will give this advice, that please watch it, you are now driven by your desires. Even though you are very successful in your life, career wise and everything, you are conquering everyone, every competitor of yours, but you should be bound, you are too bounded by your desires. So to whom you will give this advice? Perhaps someone who is just pursuing his career ambitions mercilessly, even though he's not looking at the other wrong aspects, rising materialism, individualism, fast-paced life that is there, abuse of power with respect to government, because government may believe that it is invincible, it will come in the power because it is having absolute majority. So to that government also, to those people also, you will tell that, see, right now you may be having power, but it is not for long. So you must also fight this urge to misuse power. Just like speaker should fight this urge, governor should fight this urge. So that is the perspective. And ultimately, hate crimes that is there, rapes, drug addiction. So it requires a lot of courage on their part. So that is why this quote is relevant, because people are driven by desires and emotions. And I think we have discussed this theme again and again, that in ethics, this is one of the core themes, and that is why virtue ethicists, that is why this Mills and everyone, all of them are talking about emotional intelligence, all of them are talking about how humans, they start behaving like animals and pigs, because when they are driven by desires and emotions only. And that is one of the most important themes that is there when you are answering the question. And that is why we have discussed already that relevance perspective, you should always talk about drugs, rapes, and consumerist culture, individualistic and power, consumption and everything. Understood? So that is how this quotation is relevant in today's context. Understood or not? So how many of you have written 60% of that answer, more or less? Very nice. Less 40%, roughly 40. Okay. 20, less than 20. Why? Where did you go wrong?
Sir, I basically interpreted in knowledge versus integrity debate.
Desires,
The enemies is basically knowledge, overcoming enemies is knowledge, and overcoming desires is.
Now that's very narrow interpretation. That may be one of the aspects that you want to write, but that is only one of the aspect that is there. Dr. Saab, how was your answer this time?
So I also addressed why the desires need to be fulfilled, but not fulfilled.
Not fulfilled.
And how it can be achieved.
See, that is one of the mistakes that aspirants often do. They address only one part of the question. They don't look at the context. See, the context of this question is not just fighting desires. See, if I just give you the question, then it is better to be a man dissatisfied than a pig satisfied. Comment from the perspective of controlling one's desire. Then also you will write the same thing. Okay, but this question is not exactly same as this question, because in this question you are talking about how fighting external enemy, and fighting within yourself are two different ball game altogether. So this question is contextual in a way that you have to discuss fighting within in the context of fighting external enemy, and you have to draw that differences that is there. At least the heading should be like that. Understood or not? Understood or not? So I will give you another example. I think, I don't know if I have discussed that or not, but okay. So, in in essay, one topic is there that extreme poverty everywhere, anywhere is threat to justice everywhere. This is the PYQ that is there. Now, many of the aspirants, what they will do, they will talk about poverty only. And they will say what are the causes of poverty, what are the consequences of poverty, what we should do to remove poverty. But if I give you the essay topic like poverty only, then also you will write the same thing. Then don't you think it will be a misplaced essay? It is not a very specific essay if you are writing the same thing in both the essay. Understood or not? And that is why you need to approach the essay in its entirety. You need to understand the meaning. Of course, it is talking about the consequence, that how poverty at one place is having consequence at another place, but that too in a very specific context, that at one place and other place, impact in other place. It is not talking about the consequences in general, perhaps in a way that you have studied under economics. It is not talking about that. So consequences broadly, this is what that you have studied as part of economics or some other subject, but here in this context you're talking about at one place and other place. So you have to talk from that perspective only. I also give the example of Matar Paneer, that Matar Paneer, is Matar Paneer when Matar and Paneer comes together. You cannot have Matar separately and Paneer separately and the waiter will come, sir, this is Matar Paneer for you, because ultimately everything gets mixed in the stomach. So you have it one by one. Okay, so you will not perhaps pay for Matar Paneer to that waiter. Understood? Because the entire meaning has to come together. So in this case also the meaning is this: I'll count him braver who overcomes his desire than who overcomes his enemy. So braver in the context of fighting external enemy, this is the main theme, not just desires. See, that's how you must learn to understand question and the demand of the question. So the entire theme is this, that someone is braver, someone is not. Bas, that is the demand, and around that you need to weave in your answer. Understood? So the same thing applies to the essay writing also. The entire thing you need to understand in the context.
In this, we won't write a late gratification process.
Definitely, that is about countering desires only. Definitely we will not about that.
Saying that we don't have to write that, we have to write how it is stronger than fighting.
But that is why it is stronger, because when you are delaying the gratification, that is how you are fighting your desire. That is an example of that, and that is an example of that. Both of them are different things that you are saying.
How he's delaying the gratification versus the release person who not fulfill his desire to later.
But in this case, both are fighting internal desires only.
One is able to, one is not.
So he is stronger than him. That's what you can say. Understood? What are enemies today? Enemy basically anything that is external to you. That is external. It can be anything. It can be anything actually. It can be me also, for example. So enemy is enemy.
What's a counter this? Last.
That it requires bravery to overcome enemy also.
Concern in overcoming the desires. Concerns in overcoming.
That you can. This is not exactly a counter. You are supporting only that why it is difficult to overcome desire. You are supporting the argument only. That's what he is also saying. That it requires a lot of bravery to counter internal desires. You can write that. You can write that. And that is why, human beings are supposed to have a natural sense of dignity to judge which pleasure to pursue and which pleasure not to pursue. It is better to be a pig satisfied, satisfied than a human being dissatisfied from that context. The thing that you are telling, that desires can be a guiding, motivating factor. So you need to judge the quality of desire. Same thing that we discussed yesterday. What you are going up, qualitative aspect, that is important here. So desires has to be qualitative. Gandhi had desire to make India free. So that was a noble desire. Like that. Understood? So desire is basically internal from this perspective.
Not overcoming his desires, causing enemy.
Causing what? Causing? Not overcoming desire, causing?
Overcoming his desire is causing enemy in his life.
अरे भाई उसका नहीं समझ में आ रहा, ढंग से बोलो, आप खा रहे हो मुंह में शब्द को.
Not overcoming his desires, causing enemies in his life.
कोई और बता दो यार, क्या बोल रहे हैं?
Opposing enemies in his life.
Enemies in his life. Who are the enemies?
At different level, like at individual level,
अरे नहीं भाई, कहाँ जा रहे हो? Not required in this case. हाँ? हाँ, measures definitely. Emotional intelligence you can write. Emotional intelligence, introspection, that is definitely part of the answer. Whole school approach. Value education के terms में you can write. But EI is more important here. EI, a sense of dignity, sense of pleasure, qualitative aspect of pleasure is very, very relevant here. If you can just quote Mill here, then that is and the same argument. Pig satisfied. How many of you quoted that? Pig satisfied. Very nice. That is very, very relevant here. Very nice. So slowly, slowly you are getting there. Understood? You can write that. You can write that. Man ke hare har, man ke jeete jeet. I think the afternoon I was having this class, and I had given them homework that please go through the SAP PYQs. And I asked in today's class how many of you did not go through it. Then one person raised a hand, and I asked him why. Sir, man nahi kar raha tha. So man ke hare har. So from there, no, it is there. Okay. So I done this question. Understood, everyone? Shall we move on to the next question? Please note it. Attitude change, yes, that you can write. Understood? Done? So, simplest act of kindness are by far, this theme of religion, kindness, prayers is very important. UPSC repeat it. I think another question that UPSC asked was, in a similar way, I'm forgetting the question actually, but this kindness and this religion, this theme is very important, and UPSC has asked this question one way or other. Okay, so the simplest act of kindness are by far more powerful than 1,000 heads bowing in prayer. So what is the theme that is here? What exactly it is saying? I mean, he's
Not holding the
by meaning बताओ.
not holding the herd mentality.
Meaning of the quotation. What is the meaning of the quotation? अरे आप वहां आप हिंदी में मीनिंग नहीं समझ सकते मुझको. आपको क्यों फिलोसफी में जाना? इंट्रोडक्शन है वो आपका. That is your introduction. Just in plain 2-3 sentences, just translate that to me. Very, very close. Yes. Then, अरे बताइए. To some extent you are there. Yes, very nice, Supriya. Humanity over ritualistic behavior. Again, you are only looking at one part of the kindness. The question is more powerful than 1,000 heads bowing in prayer. You must write ritualistic aspect of religion. That Gandhi ji is asking you that you should serve humanity, the true purpose, true spirit of every religion, rather than following religion mechanically and becoming entangled in ritualistic aspect of religion. Until and unless this message of letter and spirit, this message of ritual aspect and the true meaning is there, your introduction is absolutely waste, I'm telling you. See, again, you perhaps were looking only at one side of the kindness, that simple act of kindness. But in the context of more powerful than ritualistic aspect. Brilliant, I think, Supriya. I forgot, I think. Brilliant. Someone has written that line. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Understood? Now you are able to understand that will be your introduction. That Gandhiji, a great freedom fighter or father of nation, talks about that how a ritualistic aspect will always be subservient to the chief objective or chief spirit of every religion, that is serving humanity. That is what you need to write. Simple. And that is the entire message that is there. पता नहीं आप क्यों इतना कंफ्यूज हो रहे हैं, deontological and everything. That is part of body only. Introduction be very simple, very, very simple. And I think it was that simple only, this statement. There is nothing complex about it. बताइए. Gandhi is not saying that you should not be religious or something like that. Gandhi is saying that if you are religious, if you are calling yourself religious, you are doing all the pakhand, all the ritual, but if you are not serving humanity, then it is absolutely waste. Religion without sacrifice is a similar thing.
Nature of the religious scriptures versus the spirit of
I think I just said that. Same thing.
human dignity over ethical relativism.
Why are you picking ethical relativism? Why are you not picking a ritualistic aspect of religion in the introduction? That is far more specific keyword to this question. Understood? ये तो आसान था यार. What is the difficulty that is there in terms of doing that? आप बताइए. कृति, yes. छोड़ दीजिए क्या? हाँ बताइए पहले. Ritual aspects are not there. That is there. Thousands heads bowing in prayer. So in a way, I mean, to whom this quotation is, I mean, suggested? You tell me. What kind of people? What kind of people will need this quotation from Gandhiji? You tell me. What they will be doing? Who will be those people? The people who will be perhaps call themselves religious, the Masiha of the God, but they themselves do not know even ABCD of humanity. Perhaps to them, Gandhiji will say this thing, that it is far, far better. The same Kabir, पोथी पढ़ पढ़ जग मुआ पंडित भया ना कोय, ढाई आखर प्रेम का पढ़े जो पंडित होए. Same thing Kabir also highlighted. Same thing Bhakti saints and Sufi saints also highlighted. That also you could have quoted in this examination. Mohsin is not there. I'm missing him. Mohsin. Okay. Understood? So that is the core message of this quote. Things are simple. Don't make it complex. Look at the meaning in the entirety and then write the introduction. Yes, blindly following the faith. Yes. Understood? So now let us look at the argument that he's emphasizing of the action over the mere ritual. This word ritual has to be part of your answer, or mere letter, something like that. Understood? And then you can definitely talk about it, why it is, more powerful, because when you are helping someone directly, you are actually addressing their needs and well-being, give the example of 6, langars and medical camps by various religious organizations. You are actually helping them directly, the true purpose of any religion, and ultimately it helps you in building your own character. That's what you can write, because ultimately religion is about that refinement of your character, and when you do that, that will be the true objective of any religion, and that will require you to serve people, and while you are serving them, you will discover yourself, like Mother Teresa discovered herself, like Gandhiji discovered herself, and that is the true virtue ethics that is there, that you will develop your character and true state of eudaimonia. The purpose of every virtue ethics, the eudaimonia will be there, and ultimately that's how you will bring a far, far stronger community. Religion may be a strong glue in terms of community, but this humanitarian perspective is even bigger glue than the mere ritualistic aspect of the religion. And you will have a far, far stronger community that believes in social solidarity, that believe in social capital. You give the example of Kant, in which type of society you would like to live, where you have this sense of reciprocity, that you will be helped when you are needed. And similar way, you will also help people. Vivekananda also you can quote whatever you were saying, that the service of service to Jiva is service to Shiva. That is a true humanity, a true perspective of Vedanta. That's what you can quote. And ultimately, this kindness is the universal language. Universal language across the community, across society. Religion, the message, the letters may vary, the rituals may vary, but kindness and love are the universal language of humanity. This statement you can use in various contexts. That kindness and love are the universal language of humanity that cut across different society and religious and tradition and custom. And that is why it is far, far more powerful, because that is the way to communicate. I mean, how will India and other countries will bridge their gaps, will have more stronger bond by helping each other in crises. Understood? So that is the perspective of religion, to guide people, to bind people, to make it a nation, to build a community. Understood? And that will have a ripple effect ultimately. We talk about COVID wave and solidarity, and I mean, if you are only doing the religion from ritualistic perspective or not understanding the true intent behind religion, then you are actually doing religion without sacrifice only, and that will be a Gandhian sin. And that is the true meaning of every religion, that every religion actually wants you to serve to the humanity. It wants to make your individualistic approach subservient to the public welfare, that public interest is very much paramount, something like that. So that is what, ultimately you are not getting to the true meaning of the religion. And Kabir also you can quote here, Bhaktis, Sufi, all these saints you can talk about. And why this quotation is relevant? Because we are seeing a lot many religious godmen who are convicted one after the other because they are not actually following the spirit of the religion, and they are indulging in the religious dogmas. We have seen people using religion to actually ensure electoral gains. They are not actually understanding the true meaning of religion. It is to bind people or not divide people. That is the true meaning of religion. And using religion to harm others, prevalence of dogma. That is why, to these kind of people, perhaps you will tell that simple acts of kindness are far, far more powerful than whatever you are doing ritualistically. Understood? It is far, far better to actually serve humanity than to perform havan, so many havan and so many rituals that you are doing. It is far, far better to do that. Understood? So that is very, very important, and that is the relevance. Always think from that perspective. I think we have discussed so many times that what are the kind of problems that can be solved by the meaning of this quotation. Always think from that perspective, and there you will find the relevance of the quotation. Understood? Just think that to whom you would like to give this suggestion. Desires question. Just think to whom you would like to give that suggestion. Understood? So that is what you need to write. Please note. समझ में आ गया आपको? This question is not tough. No. This question is not tough. History in Bhakti movement, Sufi movement, this is what you will be writing. That how these, all these saints and Sufi saints, they were about universal brotherhoodness, kindness, helping each other. Philosophy of Vedanta you have studied in history. That is the same thing Swami Vivekananda have said. If you are finding this also difficult, then, you need to work a bit more hard. This was a fairly, that is what you will also tell people. That is a very rational perspective actually. If your mother, if suppose she's very orthodox in a way that she's doing all the rituals, for example, but she's not actually helping people because she has this, let's say, casteist approach, or let's say she has this, approach that, I will not help someone from lower caste. And this is what you will tell this to your mother. That mother, whatever ritual you are doing, this is for your own satisfaction only. This is far, far more necessary if you truly want to follow your religion, that you help this person. Understood? So perhaps to those people you will say the same thing. So, I expect better. This question should have been written better. Both the questions, they were easy. Understood? Yes, you can write this doha, but you need to translate that also. You should not write in this, what we call it, script. We should write like this only. I got this screenshot only, so I took this. Okay. Understood? Shall I change it? Shall I change it? This is fairly easy question again. Okay, is conscience a more reliable guide when compared to laws, rules and regulation in the context of ethical decision making? So from where you will start your answer? Limitation. Yes, because in that limitation only you have to talk about the role of conscience. So this will be the first part, that yes, there are limitation of laws and regulation of conscience, and that is why you need conscience to make decision. And perhaps you can make a table also, limitation and how conscience is helping in taking decision. Understood? And giving example. Understood? So that is what you can write. But then the second part is it always more reliable guide? No, there is an absolute limitation with respect to conscience, subjectivity, and whatever we have discussed. So that also you write. And that is why we need laws, rules and regulation for uniformity, for objectivity, and for rule of law and everything, because we cannot rely on the subjectivity of the individuals. How many of you have written these lines with respect to uniformity, rule of law and everything? Absolutely brilliant. I'm proud of you. Very nice. And how many of you did not write this line? वो भी हाथ खड़ा करो. Why? क्यों? I have discussed this. I have discussed the exact same question, and I have discussed the exact same line also. That is why in the context of conscience, law, rules and regulations are also important. Because we cannot perhaps rely on each individual's conscience, because we need uniformity of treatment ultimately. क्या किया जाए? What I can do to make you learn that thing in the actual examination hall, because if this question come into the examination hall and if you are not getting 60% of the marks in this question, then not even God will help you, I'm telling you. I wanted to say that God will help you, but in this case, even God will not help you, because He will say this to you again and again that, this has been told to you so many times, at least this you should do on your own. Understood? आप ऐसे मत देखो, okay, God will help you. Okay? Your God will help you. I can expect at least that this question should be addressed in a lot of depth with utmost clarity. कैसा था आपका ये आंसर? Same answer. Very nice. Very nice. So this question was जी. Done? हाँ जी.
सर थोड़ा सा शुरू में ही रोल ऑफ लॉ रूल्स रेगुलेशन.
हाँ ठीक है, फिर आगे होंगे लिमिटेशन फैन फिर, और फिर लास्ट में यूनिफॉर्मिटी वाला. ठीक है. Limitations are important. From there the answer will start. You should read the question in the entirety. Is conscience, क्या लिखा हुआ है word? More reliable guide. But you forget more. You only read a conscience. Here also, I count him braver. You forget what is written after braver. You are only talking about desires and bravery. Simple act of kindness, you are just going gaga over it. You are not reading further. That far more powerful. In all three questions, we are having a context, my dear students, and that is what you should address. Change that heading. Later, if it comes later, probably laws, rules and regulations. That society has framed laws, rules and regulation to guide ethicality of the human well-being, but it is not without limitation. And then you start limitation, and that context flow that is there. G. Because when you are saying something more, the word more is relational term with respect to what you are defining more. If I say that he is more hardworking than you, then I have to define that with respect to you only. I cannot say that he is most hardworking amongst the class. If I am saying more hardworking than you, then I have to define him with respect to you only. That is why. Simply the source of ethics. I as an individual, how I will decide the ethicality of human action? Law is telling me something, my conscience is telling me something, family is telling me something, so many things, so many people are telling me, so my students are telling me something. Okay, this is what you should do it, sir. So basically, I cannot always rely on laws and regulation. I need to think from my conscience also. Okay, so that is what is done. Fairly easy question. I can perhaps hope that you would have done great. Online वालों, कैसा लिखा आपने? How was this answer? Are you satisfied? How many of you are satisfied you will get at least 50 to 60% of the marks in this question? Yes, Riya, you can write that. That will be a very brilliant conclusion, that how conscience can be made more reliable with intellectual integrity and something like that. Very good conclusion. Shabash. Business decision making. Decision making, ठीक है, लिख लो. Okay, shall I change it? You seem very happy today. You are writing many good answers. No? Okay, don't judge the book by its cover, sir. Okay, so what is your source of happiness today? Nothing? India played well? You are smiling only all the time. Because of this question only, sir, small happiness. Nazar mat lagao, don't jinx it. Okay. The next question. Okay. Conflict of interest. Very easy question. Again, conflict of interest arising in public sector when official duty, public interest, and personal interest taking priority. How it can resolve? Very simple question. Official duty versus public interest. We give the example of secrecy versus whistleblowing. Official duty versus personal interest, CAG and the tenure, post-retirement jobs, public interest versus private interest, budget making, corruption, insider trading. All these are example of something like that. Conflict of interest. Then 6 hours of the conflict of interest. How many of you written that? 6 hours. How many of you did not write that? 6 hours. हाथ खड़ा करिए. क्यों भाई? आपने क्यों नहीं लिखा? तो फिर क्या लिखा? अपने हिसाब से बना दिया. आपने नहीं लिखा भाई. आप ना थोड़ा आपका क्या सीन है? आपने लिखा 6 आवर्स हैं? आप 5 ही लिखा. थोड़ा सा you need to put in bit more efforts. You seems not to recall the content that you already discussed. See, in ethics, out of 13 questions, I'm telling you, you will find at least 9 to 10 questions from the discussion only. I'm telling you that. But you will not find them till you revise them. For you, it will be a different question altogether. So that is a bare minimum expectation that I can have from you, that whatever we have discussed, at least you will do great in those questions. Please revise. Because it is very specifically talking about 3 things. So all these 3 things should be explained. That is how they are taking preponderance over one another. So that is why. And this is fairly simple, I'm sure. This you would have done. What is the conclusion that you wrote? How many of you wrote trust, credibility, trusteeship? I mean, we need to remove conflict of interest to ensure that people continue to trust us so that the institutional credibility remains. How many of you wrote that conclusion? Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. बाकी लोगों ने क्या लिखा भैया? Limitation of discretion. You tell me which is better conclusion. Always think from the perspective of relevance, from the perspective of vision, that why we have to remove conflict of interest altogether. Always think from that perspective to ensure credibility. Yeah, that's you can write. Ethical governance. आप थोड़ा तेज बोला करो. मैं शायद बह रहा हूं या जो भी है, बट आपकी आवाज आती नहीं है. Not that, actually, conflict of interest. I mean, not that.
Can you mention the resolving side-by-side examples, how it can resolve?
You can, yes, you can do that. You can do that. Understood? So, conclusion should be about that. To maintain trust, credibility, probity, and to ensure that justice should not only be done, but should also seen to be done. It is important that conflict of interest is removed. I mean, where will you use those contents that we have already discussed? I'm asking you. घर लेके जाना है क्या वो? Always focus on usability of the information, how we can use that. You also took 5 days of break, for God's sake, to revise everything. What did you do in those 5 days? This is the bare minimum I should expect from you. The conclusion has to be this. What else? Okay. G.
Sir, can we write?
Yes. In a way you can write that.
And sir,
Yes.
these 3 subparts
Not 3 subparts. These keywords, not subparts. Keywords.
So, do we have to write points and give these as examples, or we can write examples?
I addressed that question when she was asking that question. That examiner has very specifically specified these 3 keywords in terms of conflict of interest. So you must talk about them. What will you write? This will take 1 page only. How will you fill the other page? What else you will write? This only. Okay. Another fairly easy question. And how many of you are satisfied? You will get 50 to 60% of the marks in this question. At least you are satisfied, not mine satisfaction, your satisfaction. Nice. How many of you believe that they will get less than 30% of the marks because they have not done great in this question? सबको लगता है 10 का दम खेल रहे हैं हम? Yes, all of you believe in that more than 30% you will get. All online वालों अभी participate कर लिया करो. You are also here. How many of you believe that you will get less than 30% in this question? Five marks, 50%. She has given marks only. Okay, I will get 50%. Very good. Okay, ख्याल तो अच्छे रखो कम से कम. Okay. Another fairly easy question. Okay, and just remember the conclusion. Conflict of interest means trust, credibility, justice should also be seen to be done. These are the argument that you will write in case studies also. Understood? You need better revision. Again, question that you have discussed so many times. Yes, rules and regulations provided to all the notes and PPTs provided to all the aspirants are same, yet there is difference in performance. Positive minded aspirants are able to read the notes again and again in their favor and achieve success, whereas negative minded, क्या नाम है आपका? And what is your name? Negative minded officers like Shashank are not able to achieve. So the point is this, okay? So we see things are same and the attitude makes all the difference. Yes, fairly easy question. It's talking about discuss illustration. You need to give a lot of illustration, and then you talk about the role of morality, role of conscience, role of discretion that is there with law, rules and regulation, and why exactly this thing is coming. No, that's what you need to write. So many examples are there. Reasonable restrictions, IT 66A, Sedition Act, poor interpretation. So negative mind officers will have poor interpretation. They will not interpret it properly. Then for them, rule will become end in themselves. They will not have the larger picture. Red tapeism and everything will follow. And they will justify inaction in the name of jurisdiction. That is how they will interpret their rules and regulation. That this is not my jurisdiction. Just like, sir, you did not teach us well enough so that you can make us remember. Okay, just like that. Using rules to serve yourself, like rent seeking activity, that is corruption only, seeking corruption. Okay, and then basically not utilizing the discretion in the legal vacuum. The reasonable assistance in the section 5.3 of the RTI. How many of you quoted that? Section 5.3 of the RTI Act. Nice. बाकी लोग आपने क्या quote किया? You tell me which rules and regulation you talked about specifically. Okay. और किसने लिखा है? And how many of you exactly quoted the sections? Very nice. आपने क्या किया? पीछे वाले, हाँ, कैप. हाँ, आप. तो आप क्या बोलूँ? आप मुर्गा बन जाए. I mean, bhai, this is when I was teaching you all these things, I was telling you again and again that we need to give specific example. What is the difference in your answer and the answer of the other people then? How will you get marks, my dear students? Any of these examples that I have not discussed, any of these examples? Reasonable assistance, reasonable restrictions, Article 19, that is all you needed to write. And when you write that very specifically, that's how you will get marks. Section 5 of the RTI Act, Patent Act, for example, this Section 3D of the Patent Act, we talked about that, to ensure there is not evergreening of the patent. Understood? That due right to life, how right to life has been interpreted by positive-minded judges, for example. But in this case, you will talk about the dedication to public service, for example, that how positive-minded officer will be dedicated to public service and they will go, they go by the constitutional morality and not just a letter. How many of you quoted this word, constitutional morality? Because that is what the essence of this question is. Constitutional morality. कितने लोगों ने quote किया? Very nice. For once, you have made me a bit proud. Yes. Okay, very nice. So ultimately, you have to talk about that how there is role of conscience, cardinal virtue, dedication to public service, accountability, everything, in terms of positive-minded officers and negative-minded officers. Understood? And I actually expect that you should quote exact rules and regulations when you are writing this answer, because we have discussed that. This is what at least all of you owe to me. Yes, that you will use those examples that I am telling you to use. Bare minimum that you can do. Yes? क्या किया जाए? ये लोग कर नहीं रहे हैं. The only remedy for me is that I should become indifferent to your plight. That if you are not using that, then it should not concern me. Yes. Whatever you use, you should talk about the rules and regulations. Why are you assuming that you can only remember only one thing, that is officers, and you cannot remember the rules and regulation? Why are you are just justifying, again, attitude. Negative minded, what is your name? What is your name? Achal. Negative minded officers like Achal are unable to achieve their goals because they believe they can only remember either officer or rules and regulation, and they do not have that much hard disk available to them to remember both. You see, that is excuse that you are giving to yourself. Reasonable restrictions, first time. Reasonable restrictions, first time. Right to life, first time. So, okay, online वालों आप बताइए. HubSpot, very good example. Online वालों, you tell me how many of you used these exact rules and regulation, at least an example. Question is discuss with illustration. It is asking you to give example.
The emergency provisions.
Emergency provisions, very good example. At least some rules and regulations are there. Nice. How many of you, show me the rules and example of that. Very nice. Bold policy example of that. Yes. Definitely. Talk about the rules and regulations also. Yes, definitely. Good example. Governor's power. Yes. Money will speaker. Everything. Yes. But officer it is saying, so usually we should have officers example. Online वालों, how many of you quoted? Section 144 is a very good example. At least you should have quoted that. पर आपको तो hard disk में problem है? Kanak, what about you? Did you quote some sections? And when he was speaking, everyone, हाँ sir, हम भी officers की क्लास याद करके बैठे हैं. You see, all of you are looking for convenience. Not good again. Negative mind officers. Okay. Very nice. See, Sohani also quoted quote 5.3 of the RTI and 92 of the fundamental. Brilliant, brilliant. And you will get marks also for that. I mean, you will also give marks to such students. You yourself will give more marks to such students who are quoting exact sections. Because there are sections that you are seeing on a day-to-day basis. They are not exactly more different. Okay. Photo, I think you forgot in the heat of the discussion. इससे पहला वाला भी ये सब आपने लिख रखा है भाई, क्या करोगे इतना कंटेंट यूज तो कर नहीं रहे हो हैं. 1000 heads bowing in prayer वो वाला लग रहा है आपके ऊपर. It is better to use one PPT than taking photos, 1000 photos of the same PPT. Done?
उसमें prayers का भी थोड़ा value लिख सकते हैं.
कहाँ पे?
1000 crores.
हाँ लिख सकते हैं कि prayer भी helpful लिख सकते हैं. Symbolic aspect you can talk about. Yes. Right. But not too much actually. Main demand नहीं है क्वेश्चन का. Done? अब दोनों रिवाइज करो भाई. अभी हमें बहुत सारे टेस्ट बचे हैं अभी. Another 1 month. Not to the course. I mean, tests are also there. So you revise it again and again. Rules and regulations. Okay. Give specific example. Gain specific marks. Yes. When we are done with the 14 test, you will get some time off for the first full length test. Revise it properly. You know, all the mini tests, all the things, and then another full length test will be after 1 month. Revise it again. And I'm sure till that point of time, you will be answering at least lot many questions with a lot of satisfaction. Done? But that's what I believed earlier also. Done? Okay, this is a bit lengthy question and very good question. Okay, this question is very good, but lot of dimensions are there in this question. There or not? Huh? Yes, it is there. While both government and private institutions face ethical challenges, okay, the nature and impact of these often differ significantly. So basically, nature and impact discussed in the context of their distinct mandate, structures, and accountability mechanisms. So basically, you have to differentiate both the institutions on the basis of mandate, structure, and accountability mechanisms, and how, because of that, the nature of ethical challenges changes. And then you can talk about the consequences of these ethical challenges, impact of these ethical challenges. Understood? I mean, very analytical question and lengthy question. So let me see, okay, how you have done with respect to this question. So of course, you have to talk about that how mandate is different, public interest, profit motive, everything. How the structure is different, hierarchical, bureaucratic, public scrutiny, you know, board of directors are there. The structure, how structure is different, you know, how accountability mechanisms are different. We have discussed that, all these things, how here accountability mechanisms are different, and how because of these ethical challenges are arising. Okay, so here because you want to serve public interest, and it is very difficult to define public interest because of so many stakeholders are there. So biggest ethical challenge is to balance competing interests. That is how it is different than perhaps here, because here the nature of ethical dilemma is balancing profit motive with other aspect of decision making. Okay, so that is how the nature of ethical challenges may be different. Okay, then because of hierarchy and everything, the ethical challenges are red tapeism, top down approach that are there, and here because of board of director, all these things, the ethical challenges are with respect to minority shareholders, promoters, independent, that we have discussed already. Any one or two example will suffice. That because of this structure, this is the kind of ethical challenges that we are getting. Understood? And similarly, because in government institutions, accountability mechanisms are, bit rigid, and because of that, the risk averse decision making is there. Because of that, lot many problems are there, and here also, accountability mechanisms are a bit narrow in a way. And that is why regulatory lapses are there. Failure of risk management will lead to the crisis like NPA, discriminatory practices. We have discussed all these ethical challenges. I'm just categorizing them with respect to the accountability mechanisms, and because of these accountability mechanisms, how these challenges are coming. Understood? And yet, yet we see that there is a lot of difference that is there in terms of ethical challenges. Yet we see there is a lot of commonality. The discrimination you see with respect to caste and region, sexual harassment, corruption, it is common to both the organization because it is mostly about human fallibility to their desires and everything, because of attitude and everything. And that is why both these things are common. I have used the same line when I was teaching you how ethical dilemma or ethical challenges are different in private institutions and government institutions. And I told you there also that the aspects like sexual harassment and discrimination will be common to both the organizations because they are product of human nature. Understood? Of course, it will be very, very difficult to enforce, gender. To ensure I forgot. It will be very difficult to discriminate amongst men and women for the salary in the government organization because of the law that is there. But in private organization, it becomes much more easier. So that is how ethical challenges is different between both private and public organization. But there is some commonality also. That is what also you can write. And then how because of this there will be consequences of ethical lapse, corrosion of trust and everything here, damaging reputation, consumer confidence, financial losses and everything. Legal action also can be taken if there is regulatory lapse that is there. Okay, so totally understandable because this question was actually difficult question. This was a difficult question. I just want to know whether you were able to differentiate between the ethical challenges because of these aspects. How many of you were able to do that? Okay, then I am very proud of you because that was the more core demand of the question, that how because of that structure the nature of ethical challenges are changing. I'm very pleased to know that because this was actually a conceptual question, that how because of the changing nature of the institutions, how ethical challenges are changing. And the similar question has been asked by UPSC in the context of case study. You see the COVID case study that was there. The second question was that only if you were the manager of private hospitals, will your criteria and justification will remain the same? Simply how transitioning from public hospital to private hospital, how it will make ethical challenges and your criteria change. Same question. Okay, so that is why UPSC asked this in the case study format. I have asked this in the context of section answer writing. And I think other than that, all these things are easy only. Okay, so you please just note it. Very lengthy question, I will definitely agree. Yes. But how structure is helping in change? Structure is changing that. See, that the question is that only. Discussing the context of distinct mandate, structure, and accountability mechanism. How because of the distinctness amongst these on these three parameters, how because of that ethical challenges are changing. That is what the demand of the question. And how because of the and public interest, how because of different objective, the nature of ethical challenges is changing. Same question, COVID management. You go through that case study, you will find the same question. Please go through that case study is there, COVID management. Word limit you should not care about because word limit, time limit you should care about, and 2 pages, if you can fulfill 2 pages, fulfill 2 pages. Does not matter. Everyone is doing that. G.
Ethical lapses के consequences there are
तो वो पहला पार्ट लिखा हुआ ना, इम्पैक्ट ऑफ दीज डिफर सिग्निफिकेंटली, वो छूट गया आपसे. इम्पैक्ट क्वेश्चन वहां मुझे मत देखो. इम्पैक्ट ऑफ दीज ऑफन डिफर सिग्निफिकेंटली. इम्पैक्ट इसी में सब कुछ लिख दिया. फिर ठीक है, फिर ठीक जी.
Last में just government is taking up some private institutions to practice like profit taking. I think
You can write that. You can write that. You can write that. Yes, you can write that. Good, Khushi. Good. Question you said difficult were easier for me, but simple question according to you were very difficult for me. Then we are incompatible. Our mindset, a lot of difference is there then perhaps. Have faith, with time things will improve, but please put in efforts. And they will improve. Definitely, I mean, you would have seen that by now. It will be far, far better with respect to what you were writing at your first day. So it will be lot of difference will be there. I'm very sure. Done? Done? खुशी कहाँ पे आप रह जाते हैं हर बार, हमेशा बोलते हैं पीछे का स्लाइड दिखाइए. तो वो पॉजिटिव माइंड ऑफिसर ही तो है ना, वो जजमेंट लेगा कब उसको, वही पॉजिटिव माइंड ऑफिसर है जो जजमेंट लेगा कि कब उसको स्ट्रिक्ट अधेरेंस करना है, कब नहीं करना है. Why are you interpreting positive mind officer as someone who is not fixating to the rules? He will take the prudent decision as per the demand of the question. When he wants to enforce the law, he will enforce the law as per letter. So that is your narrow interpretation only.
उसके जगह नेगेटिव माइंड वाले कैसे वर्क करते हैं?
हाँ, वो कंक्लूजन से पहले आ जाएगा कि how we can change the attitude. Same suggestion you can give now that we discussed yesterday. Yeah, same suggestion that minimize the discretion and sensitize the officers. Same suggestion we can use that here to transform from negative mind officers to positive mind officers. How we can change the work culture. Same thing we can use definitely. Shall I change it? अभी तो दिखाया था ना. अच्छा, खुशी ने बोला था. खुशी को मुझे लग रहा है भारत इतना चाहिए. She has 3 times she has written this. I have written on the same line 75% and I make the same type of table, sir. So क्या होता है? Employee of the week. So student of the day is खुशी. Okay. Done? Okay, this is your question. It is not enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it, and it is not enough to believe in it. It is not enough to talk about score. One must believe in it, and not just believe in it, but also act upon it. So in the present context, major weapon industries of the developed nations are adversely influencing continuation of the number of wars for their own self-interest. Something we have already discussed. How they are supplying arms and ammunition to the different factions, and because of that the conflict is continuing. So what are the ethical considerations in the powerful nations in today's context to stop continuation of the ongoing conflict? I mean, many arguments we have discussed. Okay, that they should believe in the multilateral institutions, they should resolve the conflict peacefully rather than they should strive for that, and the multilateral institutions should be reformed for that. That should be the consideration. And with respect to this weapon trade, if they are doing the weapon trade, they should do that as per international law. That is, they should not supply the arms and ammunition that is barred by international law. And also they should ensure that they are not supplying the arms and ammunition to the groups who are historically using against, who are accused of terrorism and who are accused of human rights violations, and they should ensure the proper end uses of the weapon, because they should not supply the arms and ammunition if they don't know the end uses, if they cannot contain the fallout of the arms trade. For example, I am supplying, that is why India did not supply arms to the Taliban, all our support was humanitarian only, because we did not believe in the capacity of managing the fallout there. Later Taliban may come and capture. So that is the thing, that we must take that risk assessment beforehand, that who will be the end user and whether you will be able to contain the fallout or not. And perhaps you should not overly rely on arms industry from your economic perspective, because then you will have conflict of interest. that whether you will promote peace or whether you will promote violence, because economic criteria is there. So perhaps you should diversify your economy, and the citizens of the nation should ask that we should go for more peaceful resolutions. All these things, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the multilateral institutions, cosmopolitan moral theory, Panchsheel principles we could have used here. Okay, so same thing has been written. Minimizing the harm, human right commitment, transparency should be there in terms of arms sale should be regulated, promoting conflict resolution through diplomatic means, peaceful means, support for global governance architecture, UNSC should be reformed and it should take over the conflict resolution. And economic ethics, they should diversify, not just rely on the arms industry so that they do not have any conflict of interest, the developed nations. And similar thing, responsibility of global leaders to follow Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and all those ethical principles that you have just discussed. So I believe fairly easy questions. Yes? No? Yes or no? Kabhi haan, kabhi na. So, easy or difficult? How many of you understand that it is easy or difficult? Why it is difficult? Only one part has to be addressed, that what should be the what ethical consideration of powerful nations and those nations in the context of weapon trade. Introduction only, introduction will come from that. क्यों देना होगा? क्या लिखना, कैसे लिखना है? You start with any of the conflict, that current affair also, any of the conflict, and you talk about it, how arms, continuous supply of arms and ammunition from the developed nation has perpetuated that conflict, and it demands that there should be some ethical consideration on the part of powerful nations. And then what are the considerations? That is how you make transition to the body part. And this is the main demand of the question. That is fairly simple. That what are the consideration from the arms state perspective and from general perspective, that we should reform the global governance architecture, we should promote conflict resolution. This is what you should write. You have written that. So this is what you have to write. And the arms regulation should be the arms sale. Same question UPSC is asked in the form of case study. You are the director of something, AGM, arms, Prime Minister announcing with respect to arms trade. The case study was there. What are the ethical considerations for arms trade? Same question few years back. And UPSC asked this question in the context of Section A now. So you see? G? Not audible, louder. क्या बोल रहे हैं ये? Conflicting values कहाँ पे लिखेंगे, कैसे लिखेंगे? जैसे ये A context बनेगा starting में. Question is very positive in a way that it is asking you that what are the ethical considerations? What should these powerful nations think? So you should tell them this is what you should think. This is what you should strive for. So the conflict and everything should be part of background, and that is introduction. You can talk about ideological conflict, everything that you can write there. Very nice, very nice. You can do that. Yes, very nice. Talk about that. Yes, citizen charter will not come here. Okay. Yes. Pacifism also you can write, pacifism. That pacifism, we should promote pacifism. Because that is a major question now. What are the ethical considerations of the powerful nation? This is all background. Nothing. Absolute background is there. This is the major question. Not because see, you read the question. It is saying you must act on it. You must not, talk about peace because you are indulging in arms trade, and because of that, conflict is continuing. So the real thing is that it is just taking too many statements to communicate the same thing. That judgment will come with practice. Don't worry. If you are going in terms of proportion here or there, the judgment will come with practice. You need to practice a lot of PYQ. You are practicing a lot of PYQs, in fact. Okay, don't worry. Yes, you can give that example. Yes. Done? 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 This is fairly easy question, I guess. CSR? Yes? How many of you quoted the Srinivasan committee? Injati Srinivasan committee? Very nice. It is there in your notes. Why are you smiling? पढ़ना भूल गए तो गलत बात है. It is there in your handout. You know, I told you there also that recommendation you read from the notes. आप भी इसलिए हंस रहे हो? मुझे नहीं आ रही पर हंसी. Okay, nice. I think we are done. Yes, so today's paper was relatively easier. Okay, and okay, you go home and then you revise. Okay, the 5th test is tomorrow, and we'll cover the remaining topics, and 6th test will be miscellaneous test basically. Okay. संडे को भी क्लास ले लो सर, आप मर जाओ. 2 क्लास चल रही है भाई मेरी अब आजकल. Okay, so it is difficult. At least Sunday, I need Sunday. Okay. मर जाओ, मैं मेरे लिए बोल रहा हूँ. that you believe कि सर क्लास लेके खत्म कर दो सर. Nah, we cannot say that. We cannot say that because we voluntarily entered into this agreement. I mean, 2 classes are part of the routine. So, but when you are taking 2 classes on daily basis and then attending doubt for 1.5 hours after that also. Yesterday I was speaking for 6.5 hours continuously. So when you do that, you need at least 1 day break. Okay, so that is there. कल का syllabus test का it is there in the Telegram group. Please go through it. Okay, bye bye. Take care. Good night.